When an artist creates a masterpiece, it is of paramount importance that he has the correct tools for the job. Nowhere else is this more evident when painting the map, as colours such as toothpaste blue, sourced from Sardinia-Piedmont, mixed with ulma white and hints of Orison orange, are able to be combined to create works of art such as the Netherlands flag again. God damn it, well, clearly not everything we touch can be a masterpiece. But map colours aside, an underrated aspect of map painting is the national flag. Sitting on the top left of your screen, occupying your diplomacy tab, and shown up on the unit shields of your armies, well, it is here that today we will locate true art. As today, I want to show you 5 cool flags for your next blobbing campaigns, for you to paint everywhere. The requirements are simple. They must be obscure, and most crucially, the flag has to look cool. So put on your walking boots, as today we will visit the deep jungles of India. We shall sail the great river of Limpopo, and even track along the exotic lands of upstate New York. Remember, don't feed to the wild Canadians, so make sure to like the video if you haven't already for good luck, and subscribe if you haven't to guarantee our success, as our journey today begins in Kotte, with the full flag visible on screen now. Now, I don't believe I need to explain my reasoning for this choice. You have a cool animal with a whip, like the art right itself. You have a black and white motif with some cool mosaic stuff going on the side. Truly quite cool. And in fairness, the actual island of Sri Lanka provides us with some rather cool flags. Starting of course with Kotte here and their black and white motif animal, but Kandy of course also does quite well with their yellow and red line, and of course who could forget Jaffna, which has a whole cow and umbrella thing going on. I mean that's pretty cool. But I think that while the Jaffna and cow is certainly worthy of a mention here, Kotte does win out and hence earn our first spot on the list here. I also do quite like their unit model flags of this type, and I think the ships also do work quite well too, so overall a very solid flag choice. In terms of actually playing the country, well, it's a relatively slow start as far as Indian starts go, and in terms of actual campaigns, you're probably going to struggle, but once Vijayanagar's defeated, I think Kotte is a very playable India campaign. But I believe that's all we have to say about Kotte here. But now we need to head off to our next exotic location, and that's going to take us to Bunyoro, or anyone within the Great Lakes region, because while the Bunyoro flag for me, and to be clear, these chaps start within the state of Bunyoro, are pretty cool, and I think this is an excellent flag already. Where this area really shines is if you actually go ahead and form the Empire of Kitara, because that is a cool flag. Look at that. I'll show the full version on screen now, as it were, as well, but I think this is an excellent choice of flag. The map color as well is giving you a very bright gold yellow, an alternative to Zimbabwe if that is what you are partaking in, and for any adventurers seeking the source of the Nile, or enjoyers of Lake Victoria, they are certainly going to find great enjoyment within Kitara campaigns. An excellent choice with an excellent map combination. The ideas though, and frankly the nation, are nothing to write home about. Although, with CCR reductions of 15% and culture conversion costs of minus 25%, this does lend itself towards somewhat of a one culture build, albeit a not great one, as you are missing admin efficiency, province war score cost, any governing capacity bonuses, and frankly, many bonuses past that. Militarily, you only pick up 10 ICA and 15% manpower recovery bonuses, and around the only unique highlight I can have is a minus 20% unjust demand reduction. If you want to play without unjust demands, just have justified demands or something such as religious ideas. Kitara certainly isn't winning any awards due to their really unique ideas or position in the game, but where they do succeed for me without a doubt is their excellent map color, followed by, of course, our number 4 placement for best flag, because damn, that is a cool flag. With Kitara visited though, and Lake Victoria thoroughly explored, it's now time to head on over to our next artistic delight, and that's going to be taking place in the deep east of the Indian jungles, on the border with Burma. We're going to locate both the modern-day state and the 1444 Kingdom of Manipur, although kingdom is of course a strong word, as this nation does actually begin the game as a tribal monarchy. With that said, Manipur does absolutely crush our flag rankings, and honestly, if it wasn't for the tough competition, we'd be ranking it much higher with their snake dragon motif, because that thing is really goddamn cool. Here's the full image on screen now. This is what you're working with, and while I do agree that squeezed into a nation shield on the armies it doesn't look as great, I think in the top left of your screen the Manipur flag is excellent, and frankly one of the best and most refined works of art that I've seen within EU4. A true creation, and one I must commend. And imagine trying to draw this flag accurately Like you're a flag maker in Manipur, trying to get the Manipur flag up, and then you're just going to figure out, oh no, sorry, you drew the rotation of the coils on the snake thing like 5% off compared to what they're meant to be. This is going to be an incredible pain of a flag to draw without the printing press or anything of that nature. But indeed, the flag is excellent. The map color could use a little bit of work. It is a bit of a whitewashed green, which is a sadder interpretation, I would say, of the Ottoman greens, and there's a lot of green tags, but I believe when it comes to green, you want something a bit more on the vibrant side, for example, the Persian's green, or even the Kale green that is visible right next to it. The Manipur green for me is quite a bit sadder in that regard. However, at least it's going to make up for itself with, well, an abysmal lack of missions, although it's probably expected. However, the idea group is not particularly awful. Sure, looting speed isn't inherently that useful, but minus 10% shock damage received, 10% manpower, and 10 morale is going to make your armies at least mildly competent, although I will have to admit the Manipur ideas are not exactly fit for a world conquest. And with that we move on to upstate New York as promised, and to the nation of Pekot. So what are we going to locate in Pekot here? Well, firstly, we're probably going to realize that we're not in technically upstate New York. We're technically in something called Connecticut. However, that is a problem for later. Your main issue is, of course, that you are a Native American tribe, and that's a pretty terrible thing to be. But at least you make up for it with, frankly, a stunning flag of a fox or wolf in white on a blue background with a black tree and a black hill that is standing on, which I think is a genuinely really cool flag. And the best part is the details actually continue to be noticeable enough on both your troops and boats, and I do think there's a lot of heavy lifting being done by this flag for this nation, because otherwise, why would you ever play them? Native Americans actually have a lot of excellent flags, so it's hard to pick a representation from their department. But indeed, I think it's an excellent choice of flag, and one I will certainly commend. It's also very well supported by a nice, not overly saturated, but dare I even say, tastefully deep blue for their map color, which is an excellent choice and one very commendable to paint across the map. A respectable fourth base indeed. And before we move on to our winner, I'd just like to have a quick honorary mention. The country of Ndongo, that begins the game as a vassal of the Congo, which means you may interact with them if you're playing as the Congo, and you see this nation, and then you annex them, and then you move on with your life. You really don't get to see them much beyond that. But Ndongo, for their flag, they just put a high-definition elephant on there. Very commendable. Certainly a unorthodox approach to flag design. It's a white background with an elephant on it. You call it a day. It's already amazing. And if it wasn't just a real flag, for lack of a better word, I think it would be our #1 spot. But it's a bit hard to call it a flag when it's just a picture of an elephant on a white background. Certainly worth a commemoration and a mention for their brave artistic decisions, but I think they did slightly miss the assignment. Many nations in the local area can claim the grey elephant as their pride and source of inspiration, so I don't think there's anything uniquely Ndongo about it, and a pure white background is a bit uninspiring. I think there could have been a bit more done with it. So while I commend the bravery of their artistic decision, when it comes to a true work of art that breaks down boundaries, we want something that still conventionally follows the rules in certain aspects, and then crushes and breaks them in ways that you don't think should work, and frankly really don't, but are very brave in how they're set out. And for that, we do have our winner coming up right now, which is, of course, the desert nation of Wadai. And when it comes to a unique flag that surprisingly works, and yet just breaks so many rules, miserable to use, but a true artistic inspiration, Wadai is hard to beat. This flag utilizes a pink background to stand out with a white center, so another white-dominated flag, but at least the pink on the sides and pink base of the flag make it a bit more interesting. However, the true breakdown of rules is that when they saw that the flag is a canvas, they saw that canvas not as a place of artistic inspiration. No, they saw it as a place for me to write a goddamn novel, because I've never seen a flag with this much text on it. Even using the relatively high definitions provided by the Paradox Interactive flag folder, I still can't actually read this text. And unfortunately, searching the 15th century Wadai battle standard does not yield much in terms of what this text is actually meant to be. I have no idea what's written here. Those unaware of the politics of 15th century Central Africa, first of all, shame on you. This is a Sunni tribal despotism, so most likely it is a text glorifying the will of Allah. I will have to say, next time, please put less text and make it a bit more readable. Nevertheless, not only does this flag shine in its uniqueness and artistic direction, it's also just surprisingly good as a battle standard for flag icons. The subtle red notes around the battle standard make it stand out a bit more and make the white pop out in the middle a bit more than just a pure white background. And the text in the middle almost forms a metaphorical line across the center to give it the necessary character and body that is frankly a prerequisite for the winner. And not only is this flag absolutely excellent when looked upon through the lens of how it looks as a battle standard, it also performs really well, in my opinion, when looking through the lens of their boat flags, as the exact same previously mentioned effect of the central text becoming a line across the middle for adding character is preserved. However, the pink bits around the edges provide an even greater highlight for a full experience. Truly, Wadai is one of the nations of all time, and I would love to see this flag spread around more places. Unfortunately, though, this nation, metaphorically and unmetaphorically, goddamn sucks. Its starting location in the arid deserts of the Central Sahara is pretty awful. The people are fetishist, but of course you are a Muslim ruler, which does not aid in stability. And you don't exactly have a lot of spare development, with both provinces owned by you being 3 development middle of nowheres. The trade goods are also nothing to call home about. You're not mining gold here or hunting ivory. You're shearing sheep and raising cattle. You have generic Central African missions, which are at least something, and can provide some interesting bonuses. For example, the One True Faith giving you +1 advance to the True Faith, or the Unity of West Africa for an extra Yeti prestige point, as well as some 1-point generation when you pop this. Otherwise, West African ideas are terrible, and that's an understatement. +5% trade efficiencies are not exactly known to twist heads, although the -25% envoy travel time is commendable. Finally, +1 max promoted cultures is at least useful for grabbing some monuments. Otherwise, no, religious unity of 20% is not the greatest bonus you can pick up from your national ideas. The map color of light grey also doesn't do it much favors, but I do think it's a relatively unique map color that isn't used by many world conquest enjoyers. So certainly an alternative, and a brave alternative for that reason, for any map painter enjoyers out there. But unfortunately, that is all the time I have for you today. Thank you very much for coming along with me on this artistic journey. With a special thank you to all my channel members, especially Ark, Soda, W Haste, Sleman, Star72, Lord Zendikar, Nick Fassbender, Manhattan, Nikas, The Awesome Rabbit, Best for Gaming, Grandma Flavia, Sov, Mobkiller, Anthony35, AC Napo, Glorious Leader, Frankie, Yukata, Danray, Private Claw, Jack, Marvy, Conspiracy Pizza, and Labaruda.